What is consciousness? Where does it come from? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, are we just biological machines or is there something more to our existence, something immaterial? For centuries, philosophers, neuroscientists, and spiritual thinkers have struggled with the mind-body problem. The question of how the mind relates to the body and whether consciousness can be explained in purely physical terms. Today we'll explore three major perspectives on this enigma: dualism, physicalism, and idealism. Each offers a radically different understanding of consciousness, and by the end, you might end up questioning everything you thought you knew about your own mind. Imagine waking up in a robotic body with your memories, thoughts, and emotions intact. Would you still be you? If your answer is yes, then you're already leaning towards dualism. The idea that the mind and the body are fundamentally separate entities. The most famous proponent of dualism was René Descartes, who argued that the mind or soul is a non-physical entity that interacts with our physical body. His famous phrase, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, suggests that our ability to think is a proof of an immaterial self that exists beyond the mere biological body. Modern neuroscience has complicated but not entirely dismissed dualism. For example, some MDE patients report detailed memories of events occurring while their brain showed no measurable activity. While skeptics argue that these are hallucinations, others claim they provide evidence that consciousness can exist independently of the brain. Similarly, studies on meditation and psychedelics suggest that states of consciousness can be altered in ways that hint at something beyond just neural activity. However, dualism faces a serious challenge: the interaction problem. If the mind is separate from the body, how does it influence the brain? How can something non-physical cause physical changes? This remains one of the biggest hurdles for dualism to overcome. In stark contrast to dualism, physicalism argues that consciousness arises entirely from the physical processes of the brain. In other words, your thoughts, emotions, and the cells of self are nothing more than firing of neurons and interactions of chemicals. This perspective is heavily supported by neuroscience. Studies on brain injuries and diseases like Alzheimer's show that when certain areas of the brain are damaged, aspects of personality or memory can permanently be altered or lost. If the soul were separate from the body, why would brain damage affect consciousness so profoundly? Additionally, fMRI scans reveal that specific thoughts and emotions correspond to identifiable neural activity. Experiments in neuropsychology can even predict a person's decision before they are consciously aware of it, leading some to argue that free will is an illusion, just a byproduct of brain mechanics. Despite these compelling arguments, physicalism still struggles with what philosopher David Chalmers called the hard problem of consciousness. How does subjective experience, what it feels to be you, emerge from the brain? We can map neural correlates of consciousness, but explaining why and how neurons create these feelings of love, pain, and the taste of chocolate on your tongue remains elusive. Some materialists argue that consciousness is simply an advanced form of information processing, much like a computer program. However, this raises an eerie question. Could a sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence develop consciousness? If all that's needed for consciousness is the right kind of computation, would a future AI deserve human rights? Now let's flip the script entirely. What if everything we consider physical, the brain, the body, the universe, is actually just a byproduct of the consciousness itself? This is the radical claim of idealism. Idealism suggests that reality is fundamentally mental, and the physical world is just a projection of consciousness. This perspective finds its roots in thinkers like George Berkeley, who famously argued that objects do not exist independently from perception. To be is to be perceived. Surprisingly, modern physics has given new life to idealist ideas. Quantum mechanics suggests that reality does not exist in a definite state until it's observed. The famous double slit experiment shows that particles behave differently depending on whether they are being measured or not, leading some to argue that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality. Additionally, certain interpretations of panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, align closely with idealism. This perspective suggests that consciousness is not just something that emerges from brain activity, but is instead woven into the very fabric of existence itself. The biggest challenge of idealism is that it contradicts with our everyday experience. If reality is created by consciousness, why do we all seem to share a consistent external world? Why does physics work so reliably? Each of these perspectives, dualism, physicalism, and idealism, offers a compelling but incomplete answer to the mind-body problem. Dualism resonates with our deep-seated intuition that we are more than just physical beings, yet struggles to explain how an immaterial mind interacts with our physical body. Materialism is supported by strong neuroscientific evidence, but cannot fully account for subjective experience and all the mysteries of consciousness. Idealism challenges our fundamental assumptions of reality, offering a vision that mind creates reality rather than the other way around, but it remains difficult to prove empirically. Perhaps the real question isn't which one is correct, but rather, do we even have the right framework to answer these questions yet? Or do you think the truth lies beyond these categories, waiting for a paradigm shift that will redefine everything that we know? So where do you stand? Whatever's your answer, one thing is clear: the mind-body problem is far from solved, and the adventure of understanding consciousness has just begun. Join me on my channel and we'll explore it together.